Welcome to Lunch and Learn. This time we're going to be talking about how you can raise your prices without losing customers. Before we jump right in, who am I? My name is Christi Lopez, and I am a profit strategist and growth specialist for small businesses. How did I get there? Well, I started out in retail business and also in wholesale and education over 35 years ago. But for the past 5 years, I've been heavily involved more and more in small business coaching. What's my mission? Well, it's all about providing business owners with strategies, knowledge, and resources so that they can grow their business with accelerated profits and they are able to share their passion with the world of what they wanted to do so that they can achieve all of their successes. Here's what I know. There are some common business mistakes that almost every business that I come in contact has. And I wanted to go over those with you. The first is they have a lack of a strategic roadmap that allows them to grow and know exactly where they want to go. The second thing is that they don't have any way to distinguish their business from their competition. Meaning, what is your market dominating position or your unique selling proposition? Number 3 is the failure to implement a follow-up strategy. The money lies in the follow-up. And it's also how you can convert customers into clients any day of the week. And number 4, the focus is on revenue and not profits. Revenue will feed your ego and profit feeds your family. So I want you to really kind of think about that as we talk about raising prices today. Part of the tools that I use to help you and help other business owners within their business is with profit acceleration software. And what that software can do is actually help you see the main areas in your business where you can dominate and also accelerate your profits. And I use it to quickly demonstrate how there's that unbelievable power of compounding. We like to refer to it as profit acceleration. So just so you can see here today, there's a simulator that I use often with most people when I'm starting to talk to them. And it already has 12 areas, which I call foundational strategies. They are low-hanging fruit. The reason why they're foundational is that you can implement any of these 12 strategies here without having to pay any additional money in marketing and advertising. These are things that you can do in your business to grow your business, grow your profit without having any of that to worry about. There's up to 40 different areas that I work on with my clients, but these 12 are the first that I always dig into. And as you'll see today, one of the biggest ones, because we're going to focus on profit, is increasing your prices. This is what we're going to be concentrating on today. So how can you raise your prices without losing your customers? You're going to finally understand why your prospects and customers buy value, not price. The more value you can add to your product or service, the higher the price you can charge without compromising your ability to make sales. So have you ever wondered how much more money you could make if you raised your prices? Most business owners have, but then that warning bell goes off in your head. If I raise my prices, I'll immediately lose all of my customers, or at least a vast majority of them, right? This seems to be the prevailing logic these days and helps explain why more than 90% of businesses attempt to compete on price alone. But what if I could change all of that for you? What if I could show you how you can instantly increase your price without losing customers? In order to raise your price and get away with it, it's important that you understand some basic facts about pricing. First, consider the real pitfalls when it comes to competing on price and dealing primarily with price shoppers. Low price shoppers overall will take up the bulk of your time. They'll bleed you dry if you let them. We've all known these type of customers, right? And they're typically the ones that do all of the complaining. It's the low price customers who desperately look for more and more value and scream at the top of their lungs when they don't even perceive that they're actually receiving it. They're going to make sure that what they get is what they came for, because they want 100% satisfaction from you for the lowest possible price they are able to get away with. Well, many business owners believe the exact opposite is true. They believe that the people who paid the highest price will expect the highest level of service. And they do. They just complain less about it. And unfortunately, price shoppers also tend to be poor payers, and this will play out most often when you've extended them credit or offered a payment plan. Price shoppers aren't loyal. They will leave you in a heartbeat if someone offers them the exact same product or service for a nickel cheaper. If you're competing on price, you're not going to be the lowest price for long, because some other low price player is going to undercut you. Your price shoppers will leave you in the blink of an eye. They may even eventually buy from you again, but they're never going to be loyal to you or your business. If you're not in a product-based business, but instead in a service-based one, those price shoppers will do anything they can to suck free things out of you, tend to steal your ideas, copy your information, or appropriate your intellectual property. Obviously, price shoppers aren't the best customers for you to attract as your target customer. But here's the really great news. When you increase the price you charge for your product or service, you will automatically repel your costly price shopping prospects. But even better, you will begin to attract those prospects who want more than just a low price. They want the best value, which is why it's so important that you continuously add to what you sell by understanding exactly what your target prospects want and then giving it to them in the form of additional products and services. Just make sure you increase your pricing to accurately reflect the true value of your offer. So let's look at an oversimplified example of this, okay? Let's assume that the company A sells a product for $100, and the net profit on that product is 15%. That means the owner puts $15 into their bank account after all the bills are paid, such as rent, salaries, sales commissions, utilities, the cost of the building, manufacturing, or acquiring that product, okay? And everything else that happens to go into operating a business. So what would you think would happen if the owner raised their price by a mere 5%? Do you realize that additional 5% is pure profit this business owner is going to have? And it will go from $15 to the profit of $20 simply because they added 5% of $100 or $5 to the price. That means the actual profit on this product just increased by a staggering 33%. So it's very important that you understand this concept thoroughly. By increasing the price of the product or service just 5%, the business increased their overall profit by 33%. What I know is, for many business owners, it may be impossible to raise their price by even a measly 5%. Typically, these are more commodity-type businesses, so even a 5% increase will lose you some, if not all, of your business. So if you own such a business, I doubt you would want to take that chance. And honestly, I don't want you to take that chance either. So let's consider this scenario. What would you have to do to increase your profits by a mere 5% instead of 33% that we just discussed? Let's look at the actual calculations using our simple chart to demonstrate this example. You can actually see in this example that a meager 1% increase in price leads to a 6.67 increase in profits. Now, a 6.67 increase in profits is an incredible achievement when you are at the profit simulator that I showed you in the beginning, because this is just one small component of what I teach when working with my clients. There are 11 additional areas other than price in our profit acceleration formula that we help you focus on in order to create that exponential growth in your business. With many businesses, I'm able to achieve a 5 or 10% impact in each of these growth areas. And when you do so, a business can even double or triple their profits. Now, I want you to notice in this example that to achieve a mere 5% increase in profits, you would have to increase your price by 75 cents on a $100 product. Now, seriously, when you consider how much prospects today value convenience, along with the price of fuel for them to drive even one block to lower price competitor, is 75 cents, that difference, really going to be a deal breaker? Of course not. Every business today has that kind of untapped opportunity staring at them in the face, and they simply don't realize it because they don't understand their numbers. However, if you still hear warning bells going off in the back of your mind saying that if you raise your prices, you will lose customers, then let's explore the possibility of that again by looking realistically at the numbers and the actual impact of those numbers on the bottom line of your business. So to understand this number, we simply need to add one more dimension to our example, okay? When we want to know the number of customers who purchase that $100 product, here's how it looks. As you can see from this example, you could lose 48 customers, 1,000 minus 952, and still make the same original net profit of $15,000. So I want you to ask yourself realistically, do you really believe that for a $100 product or service, a 75-cent price increase will cause your business to lose 48 customers? Because if it does, believe me, there's more at play here than that meager price increase. Chances are there are additional perception problems taking place with your customers, such as poor customer service, management, or the simple fact that the customer no longer feels appreciated. And if that's taking place, those customers were on the verge of leaving you anyway, price increase or no price increase. So let's look at another example. This is an actual case study from a local health club. They charged $50 per month per member, and they had at the time around 300 members. Their net profits were only about $3,000 per month because they were operating on a 20% net profit margin. But by raising prices by just $3 a month, or 6%, they increased their profits by 30%, basically $900 a month. For many people, that would cover like a brand new car payment or maybe two. And this health club did this with zero drop-in memberships, mainly due to the fact that they provided excellent customer service and treated their members like gold. But check this out. They could have actually lost a whopping 69 members out of the 300 and suffered no impact of their original profits. Now again, seriously, how many gym members would leave a club they're satisfied with over a $3 per month price increase? And yet, that increase offers this business huge gains in their overall profitability. So use this example for your business. Plug in various price increases for your own products and services and see what makes sense for you and your business. Calculate the extra profit potential for your business and then see how many customers you would have to maintain to still make your original net profit. I think you will be shocked by the results you obtain. Now let's look at this similar example, but from a strategic viewpoint. Let's assume a business has 1,000 customers, each of them paying $100 per month for a given service. They have a 20% profit margin with a net profit of $20,000. Raising the price by $5 will increase the profits of the business by 25%. Let's also assume that 20% of their customers are price shoppers and they decide the increase is a deal breaker and they drop the service. Notice that in this example, the business still retains 800 customers and yet suffers no decrease in profits. Here's why this is so important. Those 200 customers who defected are most likely the ones who are the biggest complainers and required the most customer support. They were typically behind in their payments and generally caused the greatest amount of stress. This example highlights the undeniable fact, in many cases, raising your prices can actually benefit you and your business. It can restore the joy of doing business by eliminating stress. Oh my gosh, do I remember that? It frees up your customer support line, and it can allow you to repurpose your staff for higher priority revenue generating tasks. With your biggest problems out of the way, you're now able to serve your remaining clients at a much higher level that increases your value substantially. So 2 ways you can raise your prices with 0 negative effects. So first, let's consider 2 different strategies where you might be able to instantly raise your prices without any significant impact whatsoever on your overall number of customers. So first, you want to consider the psychological barrier of price. This refers to the overall perception price can play in your prospect's decision-making process. I want you to consider what you just saw a moment ago with the various charts and examples we reviewed. I want you to ask yourself how many products or services that you sell lend themselves to this same opportunity. However, it's important to note that this doesn't necessarily have to apply to all of your products and services. You may elect to test this with just one product or service first, as long as the impact is great enough. The health club was only offering this opportunity to new members. They could have also applied it to the various fitness classes they offered, such as Pilates and spinning. They might have tested it when offering personal training. Your business may also offer a variety of products and services, but you normally have just one product or service that you can position first in the marketplace so you can compel them into a buying relationship with you, whereby you can then introduce your additional products or services. Using this strategy, look to increase your price where it will have little psychological impact on your overall conversion rate. For example, if you offer a product or service for $92, you could raise it to $99. This slight increase typically produces little or no impact on sales conversion because both prices are perceived to be similar in nature. Consider this tactic. Any price you currently charge that ends with 0 through 6, such as $90 through $96, increase that price so it ends with a 7 or 8, such as $97 or $98. This will typically meet with 0 resistance when doing this and 0 impact on your conversion rates. Now, if you feel apprehensive about attempting this, then try a small test over just a day to verify the results. If you see pushback from your customers, then you can elect to immediately go back to your original price. However, if you attempt to increase the first digit in your price, you may hit a major psychological barrier and run into trouble. A price of $1,870 could be increased to $1,877 or even $1,897 with little to no pushback. But moving it to $1,997 might incur some resistance. This is where the previous chart can help you make that determination. You can run your numbers to see if additional increase will be worth it. However, a price increase to $2,000 or more will most likely have a negative impact on your sales. There's a reason why so many inexpensive info products you see on TV are in $19.95 instead of $20. When that first digit changes, you often breach the prospect's psychological barrier. The second strategy to consider we might call across the board or across the product/service strategy. This is where you increase your pricing on all your products or services or your various categories and products and services by a specific percentage, say 7%. In this situation, the starting point for your pricing is irrelevant. But before you take action, do some research on your competition. You should always determine your pricing versus that of your competitors, especially if what you sell is considered a commodity. With commodities, price increases can definitely pose a challenge unless they have a value-added component of some kind that justifies the increase. The key here is to determine the uniqueness of your product or service, including the delivery method of that product or service. If your product or service is unique, or if you offer a unique distribution, such as a dry cleaner that picks up and delivers, then a price increase can be easily implemented without suffering any adverse effects. The step-by-step approach for painlessly increasing your prices. So here's the best way to execute this strategy. First, I want you to identify your competitors who actually provide the same or similar product or service as you. Although I know this can be time-consuming, it's well worth spending the time up front. Here are several suggestions to help you get started. And first of all, I want you to look around and who do you compete with during the course of your normal workday. Most business owners have a good sense of who their competitors are. Take notes, write down their names, what they offer, any special deals they offer, their various marketing and advertising offers. Collect their ads, sign on to their mailing lists, visit their stores, check out their websites, walk their aisles, ask questions, make notes on how the staff treat you, and so on. I actually did another Lunch and Learn on this subject, which is about researching your competitors, and you can always check that out on my YouTube channel. It's full of great information and ways to do this. But you can go ahead and ask yourself the following questions just to get yourself started. First, what prices do you charge for your primary products and services? Second, when was the last time you raised your prices? Third, how do your prices compare with your competitors? Fourth, how does your product or service compare with your competitors? Fifth, do you provide any value-added services that your customer perceives that makes your product more valuable? 6, is it easy for your clients to price shop when they buy what you sell? 7, do you know your competitors' biggest weaknesses or failings? 8, do you or can you specifically compensate for that failing so that you gain vital market share? 9th, what would you estimate the impact would be on your sales conversion rate if you raise your prices just by 3%? And 10th, what would be your increased profit if you raise prices 3% while maintaining your current sales conversion rate? Now, obviously, this is a lot of research, but if you're about to launch a business, you would do well to understand this information before you even open your doors. And if you're already in business, then you have to do this research to get yourself in front of your competition. However, most business owners are already swamped with responsibility and have little time to invest. I get it. So I want you to try this. Tap into your local resources. Go to your local community college or business school or hire a business student to do this research for you. Or better yet, offer a hosted internship for a qualified student. An internship can help you get this research done for free while providing a valuable opportunity for a business student to gain firsthand experience in the actual business setting. In either case, a business student will learn excellent research skills, and if you have to hire them, it will be for very little money. Next, obtain the basic research. Give them your list of questions and have them research the answers for you. Ask them to submit their findings in a typed report or even an Excel spreadsheet delivered to you by email. If possible, obtain more in-depth research, levels of customer support, cost of delivery, your competitor's primary market dominating position, how they communicate it, their payment terms or options, anything that makes it easier for the customer to buy. Their risk reversal strategies, including their guarantees or warranties, and their marketing and advertising collateral. The purpose of all of this is to help you decide which of these can help you best increase your probability of success. These will help you better understand the impact, what it will be for a 3 to 5% price increase on your business. Whoever ultimately does this research, there are the best resources for finding the answers. Start with the internet. Become a mystery shopper and visit their stores or locations. Actually order from them. Talk to their customers, analyze their ads, and attend their conferences, speeches, or organizations. Go to their trade shows or visit their displays. Check out various written resources such as online yellow pages, their annual reports or computer databases, industry surveys, trade association publications, as well as newspapers, magazines, and journals. The more research you do, the more you increase your probability of success. 3 critical components that will easily justify any price increase. After you gather this vital information, use it to establish 3 critical components in your business that will easily justify any increase in price that you elect to enable. These 3 critical components are your market dominating position, adding additional value to what you sell, and reversing or eliminating all the risks associated with making the purchase. These 3 can enable any business to literally dominate their market. So let's explore all of these in depth. Your market dominating position, sometimes referred as your unique selling proposition, may be the most single important element when it comes to building a successful business. It's what sets your business apart from your competitors. So I want you to consider this. Have you created yours? If so, do you communicate it clearly in every sales call you make, or every ad you place, or every prospect you communicate with? What advantage do you advertise to the market so that they would be foolish to buy from anyone else but you? If you don't have a market dominating position, or you don't communicate the one you have, then you're lucky to get the business you do have. There are hundreds of buyers out there and 19 other businesses just like yours that will typically attract just 5% of those prospects. A great market dominating position will enable you to focus on a specific niche market and communicate to your prospective customers that you're the only logical choice for them to do business with. And if you're ready to take this to an entirely new level, a great market dominating position can empower you to disempower your competition and take their market share before they even know what hit them. So never underestimate the power of a great market dominating position. You need to spend time developing yours, then make sure it's communicated in everything you do, from your ads and your telephone conversations to each and every contact point you have with a customer or prospect. That's why when working with my clients, this is one of the first and most important areas we work on so that it gets dialed in. When you communicate with your market dominating position to your prospects in a way that connects with them both logically and emotionally, then the value of your product or service immediately skyrockets in their minds. This is the point where you will experience the greatest success when you're raising your prices. However, if you ignore the development of your market dominating position, then your prospects can't differentiate you from your competitors. And that means, in their eyes, you're just like everyone else. And at that point, your prices must be identical to those of your competitors. Never forget that when all things are equal, the only differentiation left for the prospect when they're trying to make the decision to buy from you is price. Value is where it's at. So let's talk about value next. Many businesses operate using a model just like every other business in their niche or industry. Since most businesses are born and bred into that industry, their ability to pull ideas from other industries into their own is extremely limited. And I know this for a fact by being in the floral industry for so many years prior to doing coaching. That's why one of the smartest things you could ever do as a business owner is to adopt a systematic program where you study businesses outside your own industry. Look at the various ways that attorneys in the UK market their business, or how travel agents in Australia operated their services, or the sales practices and tactics used by car dealerships in Japan. Then look to see how you can extract their best business practices and apply them in your own situation. Do this, and you will gain unmatched and unequaled advantages over your competition. In short, you'll end up dominating your market. For example, did you know car dealerships in Japan typically offer prospective car buyers a menu of drinks from a small little laminated card? They could choose iced coffee or tea, hot coffee or tea, a variety of sodas, hot chocolate, or water. Now, what does that drink cost the dealership? Maybe 50 cents? Aren't there a lot of businesses that can easily adopt this simple courtesy? If your bank did this, would that impress you? What about a hair salon, your doctor or dentist, or a florist, or your accountant? This is a simple example of a value-added service. Now, these offerings typically cost very little, but add an immense perceived value to your business. In some businesses, offering free education is an excellent value-added service, especially if your product is complex in nature. This free education can take many forms, such as a special report, a white paper, or a special link that directs them to a section of your website. How much does that free education cost you to deliver? Next to nothing, right? But it increases the perceived value of your offering tenfold and justifies any marginal price increase you choose to impose. You need to adopt a value-added mindset from this point forward in your business. I want you to continually ask yourself, how can we improve the way we help or service our prospects and customers? Because in today's competitive business environment, you have to be continuously discontent with your process and always be re-examining it, because if you're not growing and improving, your competitors will eventually eat you alive. I want you to start asking yourself and your staff the following questions on a weekly or even daily basis. What problems can we solve for our clients? How can we have a greater impact this month over last? How can we get more value to them this month? How can I provide more than they're currently getting from my competitors? If there's nothing to distinguish you from what you offer in terms of product or service, then perhaps you can create a competitive advantage in how you serve them, acknowledge them, empathize with them, or advise them. Any of these areas can easily set you apart and enable you to gain a competitive edge once the word gets around. Never forget the prospects are always in a what's in it for me mindset. For example, when you go shopping, do you care more about yourself or the sales clerk? Yourself, of course. And that's normal and natural. So ask yourself these questions. If I were the customer, why would I want this? Why would I want to take advantage of this? Why would I come to this store instead of my other competitors in the same area? What's in it for me as the customer? What's my ROI, or my return on investment? When you get your team together and start to brainstorm ways to add value to your clients, how to enrich them at a higher and deeper level, you move from the me-oriented thought process that says, how am I going to get more clients, to the you-oriented process that says, how much more value can I add to the result? This is a simple yet profound rule of business. The more value you give, the more money you will make. Maybe you're in an industry where it's impossible to raise your prices. Think about this. If you were perceived by the marketplace as the one who offered the most value for that price, who do you think would get the lion's share of the business? It would be you at the expense of your competition. In almost every business, there are groups of customers that will gladly pay a little extra for a higher level of service. If you identify this in your business, you may want to consider raising your service level and then your prices. In almost every business, there are groups of customers that will gladly pay a little extra for a higher level of service. If you identify this in your business, you may want to consider raising your service level and then your prices. Consider a business as mundane as a dry cleaner. Dry cleaners, as a group, do relatively poor job building customer relationships. But how would you feel if you walked into your dry cleaner and a cheerful, friendly employee greeted you by name? They offer you a hot, fresh coffee and dessert, and they're fanatical about the quality and care of your clothing. When it comes to dry cleaners, these are little differences that are highly valued by their customers. And with these small increases in value, this dry cleaner can raise their prices and their customers will gladly pay the increase. Now, the third critical component in your business that will easily justify any increase in price that you elect to enact is reversing or eliminating the risk of purchasing. By eliminating the risk, you lower the barrier that prevents someone from buying from you. You should strive to actually reverse the risk and remove it from the back of the customer and place it squarely on your own shoulders. This will compel your prospects to at least sample what you have to offer, especially if you can show that the value offer is greater than that of your competition and that your market dominating position is more compelling. Your job as a business owner is to find many ways that you can get your products or services into your customers' hands. Most businesses sell their products or service with an unclear, powerless guarantee. If there's a problem, an integrity-based business will always make the problem right. They will adjust it, replace it, or refund it, or redo it. Unfortunately, they don't often incorporate that factor into their selling proposition. The typical claim of satisfaction guaranteed has been so overused that now it's meaningless in the minds of most consumers. The more you consciously include risk reversal into your selling proposition, the more you will own the customer. More often than not these days, products and services are viewed by the customer as commodities. The challenge that every successful business owner must confront head-on is to refuse to be a commodity and learn how to become extraordinary. You must learn how to separate your business from your competition and become the obvious choice to buy from. You must stand out more favorably and advantageously than any other business you compete against. I want you to ask yourself what you can do to eliminate the customer's fear of purchasing what you sell and make it foolish for them not to do business with you. For example, if no other competitor offers a 100% money-back guarantee, then you have the opportunity to become the logical choice by doing so. Many of today's top retailers offer a generous return policy. Knowing that you can take anything back for any reason if you're not completely satisfied differentiates them from their competitors that failed to match that offer. It completely eliminates any risk of purchase. Why would anybody purchase the same item from another store then? Understand that a guarantee is an absolute scientifically calculated risk. The return rate that will become a mathematical constant over time, and you will be able to calculate your exact cost. Which one of your competitors does this now? If there aren't any, you may have the opportunity to become the market's only logical choice. I want you to take action on this immediately. Think about how you could reverse the risk for your customers. Come up with an idea and test it on the next 10 customers that you come in your door. If you start to close more sales, then you'll know for sure you're onto a winning formula. These three critical components of establishing a market dominating position, adding value to your product or service, and reversing or eliminating the risk of purchase can propel your business to a dominant position in your industry, even in your local area. Next is how to best communicate your price increase. Now that you've established what you sell in this dominant position, what's the best way to communicate your price increases? Remember that prospects buy based on emotion, And when they go home to their spouse or go into a meeting and make their presentation to their boss, they have to justify it with logic. Your communication has to cover both areas. This means that when you raise your prices, your success will be greater if you communicate to your customers the reasons why you're raising your prices. If you let the customer in on your reasoning, they will be more inclined to do business with you. Don't underestimate the power of the word because. The brilliant Robert Cialdini, in his book Influence, mentions a study where there was a woman who was waiting to make copies. She jumped to the front of the line saying, "Excuse me, I need to make some copies." Almost everyone complained, and they asked her to move to the back of the line. Then the researchers instructed the woman to say, "Excuse me, I need to make some copies because the boss needs them now." In other words, she gave a reason why she needed to be allowed to circumvent the line. Over 90% let her jump to the front. These researchers were so startled by the high acceptance rate that they decided to try a radical deviation to this exchange. They changed the sentence to something that didn't even make sense. This time, the woman said, "Excuse me, I need to make some copies because I need to make copies." They discovered that the same percentage of people let her in. The deciding factor in getting people to give her what she wanted was the word because. I want you to use this to your advantage as well when communicating price increases with your prospects and customers. Here are some suggestions to consider and revise to fit to your business. Although I'm raising the price by $3, it's still a great value because I'm including 100% no questions asked guarantee. I'm including this additional service. My expenses went up by the same amount due to X. I've upgraded the quality of my staff so we can serve you better. I've invested additional funds to streamline your buying process. I've added technical support or live customer support. I've upgraded my product or service so you can get a far greater value for your money or a higher ROI if that language is more appropriate for your business. The more factual, embraceable, believable, and credible reasons you can give me for paying a higher price for your product or service, the more compelled I am to favor you over other businesses. Never forget that testing is the key component when it comes to raising your prices safely and successfully. There's no need to risk your financial future when you have the power and the ability to attempt a small test. Is there a fraction of your buyers or prospects you could do a test increase on if you're selling across different geographic areas? Could you do a test on a certain price increase in one district and analyze and tabulate those results prior to rolling it out nationally? The purpose of testing is to demand maximum performance from every marketing action. When you test one price against another and carefully analyze and tabulate the results, you'll be amazed at how one price can produce significant changes in your profits or none at all. However, you won't know until you test. In fact, you owe it to yourself, to your business, and all of those impacts to test various price increases. After all, if you could increase your price by a mere 5% and then you discover that your profits increase by 20%, wouldn't you want to know that? And if you could test that while limiting your risk, you'd be foolish not to give it a try. So here's the recap. If you want to raise the price on your product or service, you may be able to do it by small amounts and get away with it. For example, raising your price from $92 to $97. However, if you're in a highly competitive market, then you must first raise the value of what you offer. Second, as much as possible, reverse the risk of your offer. Third, incorporate these changes into your market dominating position. Fourth, communicate these changes to your customers in a way that they get it logically and emotionally. Fifth, test your price changes on a small segment of your market. And sixth, make changes to your prices. Following this winning formula, and you will quickly see your profits skyrocket while you simultaneously remove any and all financial hardship from your business forever. I hope you've enjoyed everything that you were able to learn on this session today and that you're able to take action on it. What I love to do is be able to give you a special offer where if you want to reach out, I'm more than happy to do a free 30-minute business call where we actually plug in your numbers into the simulator and find out the biggest areas where you could have the biggest impact using your actual numbers. It's simple. You just have to reach out, use the QR code, and set up an appointment on my calendar. Or you can simply go to info@christilopez.com and send an email, and we'd be happy to get back in touch with you with a time that would work for both of our schedules. Another offer I'd like to give you in this coming year is if you enjoyed what you saw today and found value, this is only just one of hundreds of different videos around these foundational strategies and the other strategies that I use to help my clients on a regular basis. I'd love for you to reach out and talk to me about joining my Business Online Academy, where we actually have a group call every month, and we talk about whatever's happening in the biggest area in your business that you need help with. What I've found is when you actually get an opportunity to talk to people and share what's happening in your business, you learn from each other, you grow with each other, and you start to take your business to another level. Focusing on your profit and your growth in your business by taking action will always lead to a positive result. I know because I've been there, and I know it works. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me today. I will talk to you soon. Thanks for joining.